got a warning for travelers who may be using dating apps. U.S. Embassy officials say they have seen several incidents of Americans kidnapped in Mexico after meeting up with strangers that they met on these apps. Officials say victims were extorted for large sums of money. The kidnappings taking place over the past few months in Puerto Vallarta and Nuevo Nayarit. However, officials say this can happen pretty much anywhere, and they're warning travelers, take extra precaution when you meet up with strangers. With us now, cybersecurity expert Eric Cole, a former CIA hacker and also founder and CEO of Secure Anchor. Thanks for being here. I mean, it feels like this is something that would come down to common sense. How sophisticated are some of these scams luring people in on these apps?
The unfortunate reality is they're not very sophisticated because they're taking advantage of human emotion. When you're in a dating app or you're on the internet, you assume that you're dealing with legitimate people. But the reality is you're not. There are so many people out on the internet, dating apps, and social media that are really there to target you. You just have to really be a lot more paranoid and recognize not everyone out there is nice, good, or has your best interest at heart, and just really stop trusting people as much as we do.
So how do you help people spot the traps? What do they look like when you start having a conversation with someone online? What questions should you be asking to make sure that it's legitimate and you're not going to get scammed?
So most of these apps are using AI against us. So they're actually scripted and coordinated. So they work in a very uniform way. So what I always do is tell people to break the pattern. So if you're having a normal conversation, how are you doing? Where are you traveling? Where are you going? Break that conversation and start asking different questions or different information. And then also be very careful of giving away personal information. Anything about travel, your location, your details, or your airport should never, ever be shared with somebody. And if they're probing you for that information, that should be an immediate alert that something is wrong and something's not correct.
So maybe you're entering into a conversation with AI, but there is a person behind this. How are the kidnappings happening? Where is that originating?
So what they're doing is they have predefined areas or locations that they know that are easy. They've already staked out the areas, say in Mexico, where there's no cameras, not a lot of law enforcement. So they're basically geo-targeting people that are going to certain areas or that they can get you to go to certain areas. So they're going to start asking, hey, are you going to Cancun? Or are you going to this location or that location? Hey, how far are you away from this spot? And they're going to really try to get you to a specific location because you have to merge cyber with physical. And the physical aspect of where they're going to kidnap you is already identified. So now what they have to do with social is try to figure out people that are going to be close to that location. So any types of details where somebody's trying to lure you into an area, convince you to meet up, or give out information, you want to step back and say, wait a second, this doesn't make sense, and stop giving away our personal information and stop helping it make it easy for these attackers to cause harm to us.
If they're putting out a travel warning, this has to be happening frequently enough. How common is it? And are there some cases that we can learn from as examples so that no one else falls victim to this?
The unfortunate reality is it's happening a lot more. And in many cases, it's not reported because a lot of these scenarios are either sometimes they'll kidnap you and they're only asking for a small amount of money. So sometimes it might only be $1,000 or $5,000. So it's quick, it's fast, it's reasonable. So there flies under the radar. So a lot of these cases are not even being reported. So what we're seeing here, that, like you said, the fact that we're seeing come to the media is a tip of the iceberg. But this is such a huge problem where this is such a quick, easy way to make money. You have people traveling, you have people that are single, they're going out of the country, and it's a great way for attackers to steal a couple $1,000s from a lot of people very, very quick. So it's happening really quick, really fast, and it's going to continue to grow.
And is it unique to Mexico, or are we seeing these types of scams, these traps in other countries as well?
It's really what you call your vacation hotspots. So we're seeing a lot of it, South America, Caribbean areas where people travel. We're even seeing some of this in Hawaii, even though it's in the United States, because it's isolated. There's still ways that they can target and go after people. So anywhere that there's fun and sun is basically where these attackers are going to target and try to go after you.
And on the bottom of the screen, it says, while using dating apps in Mexico. But this is happening before you get to Mexico, right? You're using the dating app at home, and then there's a lure to go to Mexico, right? Is that the difference?
Exactly. So the whole attack and targeting and surveillance is happening while you're in the country. So what most people do is before they're traveling to a location, if they're single, they'll go to their app and they'll put in a new location, say Mexico, and then they'll start trying to meet people ahead of time. So this is all happening beforehand. And then the reason why Mexico is targeted is just because there's a lot of people down there. There's not as good surveillance, not as good police, not as good negotiation, and people tend to have a lot of money when they go to Mexico. So Mexico is an example, but it's not limited just to that country.
Right, and they're extorting you for money and kidnapping you, who knows what. Good warning. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.